Dr. Nick Wayan, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a surgeon, a urologist, an entrepreneur, and a politician, just so many caps. And I think you are dealing with one of those subjects that I like very much, corruption, and what is responsible for corruption and what we should do to abate it. It's very important.
Yeah, doctor, so much negative energy in the air.
Yes, there's a lot of negative energy in the air in our nation, and it's understandable, because if you understand human nature, if you have understood what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is all about, I don't know if you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, it's a pyramidal triangle. Envisage it as a pyramidal triangle, just like the tripod of this camera, and it has different levels, you know, different floors to it. So at the base of the floor, you know, to the top, that's how the human needs are arranged. And therefore, we are saying that when at the lowest level of human needs, if people don't have food, if they don't have clean water, if they don't have clean air, if they cannot sleep, if they cannot have sex, if they cannot excrete, there's going to be fighting. And it doesn't matter whatever you have from this world. You could own all of Douala. You can own all of Douala and everything in it and all the banks. If there is no water, you would abandon that and go and look for water. If there's no food, you are going to abandon it. That's just how important it is. So when there is a lot of negative energy in the community, you need to step back and find out what exactly the people want. Why is there so much agitation? Why are they so angry? And begin to find out what has happened to the state meeting up with the needs of the people in that hierarchy of needs. So the most basic thing that we will fight for is air, water, food, sleep, sex. And when you go to the second level, there are issues of security and safety. Safe jobs, safe homes. You know, you want good homes where you're not battered by the weather, and you want to know that your tomorrow is secure. Then if you move to the third level, we are social beings. We give love and we receive love. And that's the way God made it. We must love each other. That's the agape. And then on the fourth level, you have the ego. You know, that's self-pride. And you know, when the ego is off track, you can have you can suffer from inferiority complex or superiority complex, and either way is not good. You should just be yourself. And then you get to the fifth level, which is self-actualization. You know, you are who you wanted to be, and you meet your life's goals and so on. And then you can leave that triangle and ascend to a higher level, which is called a transcendental level. And the transcendental level is when people are mature enough and they reach a certain level of spirituality where they have attained everything that they want, so to speak. And they're looking at life differently and asking themselves, why was I born? Why am I on earth? Yes, I have cars, houses, I have the money, I have the women, I have the everything that I really wanted to have. I'm a president, I have done this, I'm a minister. You have everything that a man could actually have with money. But now the question is, and so what? When you ask yourself your question, I have filled the banks with my own money. The question is, and so what? When you ask the question, and so what? Then you begin to realize that life is not about you. Life is about others. And at that material moment, you will see that you become happier and more contented when you begin to serve others. Serving others in doing what? In helping others to meet their life challenges as they go up the Maslow's table. So if you have acceded and you have all the money, the power, and so on, God puts you there and gives you the opportunity, so you begin to provide food, water, housing, security to people. And when that is not done, there's social strife.
Okay, Doctor, I want to remind our viewers or televiewers that you are of the CPDM ruling party. When you read through the reports of the Transparency International recently, that was published recently, were you satisfied with the position of Cameroon?
Well, in your introduction, you said that there was a time around 1996 where we were very good, around 49, thereabouts. Yeah. And then the situation gradually got worse and the worst position we've occupied so far has been 153, right?
Yeah, that was in 2017.
And therefore, we improved by 1 point, and now we are 152. Let's hope that we keep improving until we get to 80, 90, and so on. But 152 is nothing to be proud of.
When you look at the way things are going in this country right now, one may have the impression to think that your party, the CPDM, who are in control of the states, are not doing things the right way.
Well, you know, if we go by what the president has been saying, and especially in 2013 at the end of year report when he was addressing the nation on the 31st of December 2013, he was very categorical, he was very clear, and he was decrying the fact that most government functionaries, ministers and directors and what have you, people are only thinking of their stomachs, people are greedy, they don't think of common good. And when you get a set of people working in a system where they don't think of common good, the people are bound to cry.
So where does the problem lie? Does it lie on the educational system? Yes. Have we failed with moral education?
It's not just moral education, it's a set of, the solutions or the problems are multifactorial. You know, you could rephrase that question and ask, there's been corruption, and we have CONAC, we have all sorts of things, and there is representatives of CONAC or anti-corruption units in every ministry, every department, whatever, and even in the private sector. And I think there are about 4 arms of government just to fight corruption. And then you have police people and gendarmes and so on who are supposed to be fighting corruption. You have judges who are supposed to be fighting corruption. You have teachers who are supposed to be fighting corruption. You have pastors and priests who are supposed to be fighting corruption. But from the moment where the human nature is corrupt and you start having teachers who tell lies, professors who tell lies, priests or pastors who tell lies.
So where did we go wrong? Where does the problem lie?
The problem is in our training. There's something wrong in our training. We have not been trained to know what is truth and to know the importance of truth, and to know what love is and to know the importance of love. We've not been trained to respect others, and we've been trained and we went through jungle law competing, where you think that if you grab from your brother and save for yourself, save for the rainy days, even if your brother is dying in the cold and you have the blanket on your side, you're well off. We've been trained not to be one another's keeper. We've been trained to fight each other for what is left, and that is very sad. And if you want to find out what is plaguing our nation, you need to really step back and meditate on it, something that I have done. Then you realize that the problems have to do with our education, as we said. Not just moral education, it's more than moral education. The kind of education we have in the country, if we don't change it today, even for the next 100 years, it will only get worse. The wars would only increase. So the kind of education is not good. Our economy is not good.
But they are talking about the LMD system.
No, it's not about LMD system. Forget about LMD system. Yes, the
so
LMD
many
system,
subjects have been added in primary school. The curriculum has been changed.
No. The LMD system is just a system. But what is it that goes into the system? That's the problem. The problem is not with the LMD system. The LMD system is great. But what is it that you are feeding in the system? It's like, what we say LMD system is like having a cornmeal, okay? You have a cornmeal, that's the system that grinds is the cornmeal. And then if you put corn, it will give you corn flour. If you put in millet, it will give you millet. So the question is, what did we put into LMD system, and what is it that we are getting at the other end? If you put it junk, you will get junk. That's the problem.
So what are you insinuating?
As of now, we need to think very carefully. These are the indicators. These are the indicators. The economy must be good. And when I say the economy, what do I mean? What I mean is that the system must be such that people don't have to go and line up in ministries in Yaoundé looking for jobs.
But you are in the system.
Well, I'm in the system, and if I had the opportunity, I would change it. That's why I'm there, because I think I can do something about it. I can help somebody to understand what is happening. I can bring on my own little contribution, and we change it. And I'm begging that we should change it, because we cannot continue like this. We put in place a system since 1960 which is not very useful. We go to school, we have, you know, the system, be it the Anglophone education or the Francophone education, that is not important. The thing is, whatever we put in calling Anglophone education is all wrong. Whatever we put in the machine calling Francophone education is wrong. We have been putting the wrong ingredients in the machine. How do I know that? I know that because most of our children leave our higher institutes or whatever level they get out from and are not functional, they're not useful to the society. The reason that you go to school is to be able to get knowledge and understanding of how things work, to understand the whys and the how. And then once you have gotten those capacities, then you go out into the world and you become creative. By being creative means that you have the capacity to change water into wine. But if you cannot change water into wine and all you can do is tell a story, someone is going to go hungry in your house. And that is the key thing. So go check it out. All our children who have gone to the universities, they only tell you stories and nobody can solve a problem. Until you train children who can solve problems, you have not solved the problem. So we must get to that foundation. And therefore, when you take somebody who went to school and can only tell a story and doesn't know how to solve a problem, even when that person gets into position of power, he still doesn't know how to solve a problem. And all he can do is tell a story, and then the children are crying and saying, we are hungry, and he doesn't know how to feed them. That is the key problem, and we must solve it. And how do you know that? So what is the yardstick? Measure yourself against the education in Finland. Measure yourself against the education in South Korea.
How is the education in Finland?
Sorry?
How is the education in Finland? How is it done over there?
All right. When you say education, you give someone a theoretical background to concepts to understand. And then you turn around and take him through a practical session so he understands the concepts. Then when he gets out of to the world there, he knows. For instance, we take our children into school and we teach them physics. Just physics. I mean, physics, chemistry, and that. Then, you know, you teach them the physics of electricity, the physics of convection and you know, all these principles, okay? But you don't link it so that he understands how a refrigerator works. That's the problem. You have to teach him in the sense that you bring all those concepts of physics and apply it, you know, how it is applied in a refrigerator, how it is applied in a cooling system, climatizer, air conditioner. You know, be the air conditioner in a car, in the home, and so on. They are the same principles. So our children go and learn, they will learn about electricity, learn about air convection, learn about heat transfers and so on. But these things are disjointed in their minds. And they just write an exam and pass and have A grades. But he is not capable of, you know, understanding how a refrigerator works and going from there and putting down and taking a refrigerator down to pieces and building it back and making it work, and then being able to make a part that is bad and replace it and eventually make his own refrigerator. So you see the problem. Our education, we are training robots just to make noise, shout, sing. They can have even 10 A's or 25 points, whatever, but they are just reciting like parrots. And they are not used to solving problems. And we created a system where we put it into the heads of our children that it's honorable to have a job in the office and be a fonctionnaire, be somebody, go to the big schools and come out and sit and wear a tie and get the fans to blow you and get everyone else to bow when you're passing by and shout orders. That is the kind of thing we put in the heads of our children. But yet, we have left the creative part of education out there and we are not doing it, which means that there are so much opportunities all over the whole place. If you have been trained to see opportunities, this country is littered and full of opportunities, yet we don't see them. That's why you have Chinese, Lebanese, Indians, Americans, French, Germans. They're fighting to come to the country because there's a lot there that you, these black people, you're doing nothing with it. So they come and take it, and then they turn around and then employ you. Go see how many Lebanese are out there digging everywhere and so on. That is the problem. Until we change that, the corruption will continue, the social disorder will continue. You must teach children how to make money. How do you earn money? Not by stealing, not through corruption, not by 419, not by nailing some other people to the cross. How do you get money in an honorable way? How do you make money? If you can do it, all this rubbish will stop.
Recently, some political leaders were arrested for trying to stage a protest. What is your own appraisal of human rights in Cameroon?
Human rights has always been an issue, especially in third world countries. And then it's really a problem that exists everywhere that there's a human being. You know, I used to think about it a lot, but when I observe that in America, the black population in America has been complaining about police brutality in America. You know, they just shoot and kill blacks at will. If you go and check their prisons, you will realize that most of their black males are in prison. Most of their black men, they are on drugs. There are all sorts of things. And you would have noticed too, in the world of cinematography and many of the things they are doing, each time there is a sin, the black man is always in as a thief, somebody who cannot be trusted, somebody who has some funny thing. He's not shown as the hero. Very few of them show the black man as the hero. He always comes in as the houseboy cleaning something, as the man driving the car or doing something menial, having drugs in his pockets and so on. So the black man, you know, there's that message about the black man which is not correct, and the black man in America doesn't have his place, and therefore
probably because of their action. When you look at what most blacks are doing, maybe they are the ones portraying such image.
No. It's society forced it on them, but again, many of them have not tried to come out of that mindset. But what I was trying to say is that we expect the best in America, but if America cannot reach that best, then we cannot expect. I mean, we in Cameroon, we have a right to complain, but we cannot kill ourselves over that, because the guy in America who is supposed to be showing us the good example is still not doing so. Yes, there are problems.
So what are you insinuating?
I'm insinuating that there's a lot to be done. You have to do something, I have to do something, the Cameroonian government has to do something, the forces of law and order has to do something, the courts have to do something, but we should be aware of the fact that we must respect each other. And technically, actually, we are talking about education, you're talking about corruption, you're talking about respect of human rights, you are talking about social violence. All of these things are only fruits of something that is not right. We've sown a fruit that we've planted a tree that is not correct. But once you correct that tree and begin to put in the right fertilizer, it would bear the right fruit. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Can you tell our viewers the tree?
The tree, it must be the tree of truth. Whatever you do must be truth. When you plant the tree of truth, it would bear fruits that are called truth. When you plant a tree of love, it would bear fruits of love. Anything that is love, is born of love, is good. So when you are seeing all of these things, it means we have no respect for the truth in our nation. We have no respect for love of one another in our nation. What do I mean by truth? Now, truth is something, you know, when Jesus Christ was asked about the truth, Pilate asked him, and what is the truth? He never answered. But the truth, even if you go and Google search on the internet to find out what is the truth, you will not get it. The truth is something that is very, very technical, and it took me a lot of time to understand what truth is. And once you have understood truth, and you walk in truth, you think truth, you practice truth, and if everybody were to do it, doing that in love, there will be very few problems. What is truth, for instance? Okay, you are a journalist. You went to school to study journalism. If you cheated and got sexually transmitted marks, yes, you will end up with a title which says journalist, but you will not be no journalist. Are you getting the point? I have the cameraman here, supposing they also cheated and got a paper which says you are a great cameraman. When you are bullshit, you will not do the job. So when it comes to doing what we are doing now, the job will not be good because you cheated, the cameraman cheated. You understand? You didn't represent truth. So when we say you are a journalist, it should not be a journalist only in Cameroon. It should be a journalist anywhere in the world. If you say Dr. Ngwanyam is a doctor, I should not be a doctor only in Cameroon. I should be a doctor anywhere else. So if you have a school system that trains doctors and nurses who can only function in Cameroon and cannot, are not worth their weight in gold outside and cannot compete with the rest of outside, there is a problem. Therefore, the question is, the way we do things in Cameroon, can we compete with the world out there? If we could compete with the world out there, we would not be 100. We would not be number 153. That's an indicator of how off track we are. So when we begin to do things properly in our school systems, from primary school, nursery school, high schools, and so on, teaching the right things, we'll be okay. Take, for instance, the education I was talking to you about a moment ago. We have to have an education which teaches children STEM, S-T-E-M, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It is that kind of education coupled with attitude, the training in attitude and character, computers, communication skills, emotional intelligence, that's intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligence, that kind of thing. Knowing how to respect each other, knowing how to work in teams and so on, knowing how to produce. Then you would have seen that we would have been producing our own stuff. For instance, why do we spend 300 billion francs every year buying fish, Chinese rice, and then Moroccan fish from others and eating and going to the toilet? The question is, why can't we grow our own rice? Because what we call our agri engineers and officers are fake. You understand? They don't represent the truth. Because if you are an agri officer who trained well and you represent the truth, show me, don't wear a suit and come and tell me you are an agri officer. Show me that you are an agri officer by showing me a farm of hectares of corn, hectares of beans, hectares of cocoa, and so on. You tell me this is my tonnage every year, and this is how much money I make from it. This is how many people I employ. And my problem is now is I want to be transforming from this to that. I have a problem of storage. I want to be doing that. But go check. Go to our Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Husbandry. Start from the ministers. Come down to the Secretary General, come down to the directors and all the advisors, then go even to the divisional level and gather all of them for the past 10 years and try to do a study to find out how many of them have farms, how many of them kept animals.
You know that agriculture is the backbone of the economy.
Is the backbone of the nation. So they are talking agriculture, they're sitting in air conditioned, this thing, riding in big cars, but none of them can give you a bag of rice. That is the problem. So they're fake. Are you getting what I'm saying? Until we get to the point where when you say you're an agri officer, I measure you by what you produce, but not what you say.
Most of them will tell you the business climate is not there for them to operate.
No, and that is why we must change. Because if we keep having, that's just an excuse. If we keep having all these excuses year in, year out, we'll never move. We have to get to the point where we step back and stop having people telling stories. Tell your story by what you produce. Don't tell your story by
what is your message for the youths who are out there?
My message for the youth. My message for the youth is that when you go to school, stop learning subjects. Learn, even when you are learning subjects, realize that those subjects are a basis for you to understand how things work and function. Learn in such a way that when you go to a professional school, you can put all of that together and bake a cake. Bake a cake is figurative. That means you can do something, you can bring things together and make them cause a manifestation. If you are going to study and get even a PhD and all you can do is wear a tie and tell long stories, you have failed. That's the message. When you go to school, even if you are studying the physics, the chemistry, the mathematics, the philosophy and so on, you must put it to use. And you cannot just study philosophy and put it to use. You cannot just study chemistry and put it to use. You must put it to use by combining it with some other things so that you can make soap. You study chemistry so that at the end of the day you can make soap. You study chemistry so at the end of the day you can take a pineapple, grind it, mix it with other things, create pineapple juice in aseptic conditions, seal it and put a label on it and sell in Europe. That's what you study for. Don't just study chemistry for the sake of chemistry and telling stories. It doesn't work like that. So the kind of studies we've been having in Cameroon, you could say that it's like someone going on a journey from Bamenda to Yaoundé, and we got to Bafia and we stopped. The education was not complete. The education is only complete when it is productive, but our education is not productive, and that's why we are having corruption.
So what kind of system of education are you proposing to your ruling CPDM party?
The system of education should copy what is happening in Finland and South Korea. Those are the best examples in the world. Even America and so on, they are trying to copy that. It's a system of education which is based on STEM, which means that from the primary school level, children are supposed to be learning agriculture for real. And the agriculture for real is not in the textbook. You read about, you do it in the textbook, do it in the laboratory, and go to the farm. Are you getting what I'm saying? You know, all our children from primary school should be working on the farms, not just digging with a hoe, but doing it scientifically on the farm. So by the time they get to university, 80% of them will want to go and work on that farm with machines, with laboratories, with everything, doing it scientifically. In America, you have only very few farmers feeding all that population because they are doing it right. So this kind of agriculture with the hoe and cutlass that's not the agriculture we are talking about. Our children need to learn the science, the technology. Technology is the basis of a lot of things. Engineering is the basis of a lot of things. And you need the science and the mathematics with these things on the one hand, so that you understand how systems and things work. Then you add character training to them. You add, we mentioned agriculture, that's the backbone. We have to realize
have you drafted
yes,
a curriculum that you may want to present to the government, propose to the government?
What I would like to tell you is that already at the level of the Ministry of Higher Education, the Ministry of Higher Education, you know, for the HND, HPD, HND programs and the other programs in the professional schools, those programs were recently revised because they realized that from 2003, even though we said they were professional schools, most of the training was still not very productive. And to answer the question, the curriculum had to be tweaked. There are new curricula that are sitting on the shelf over there. They are new, they have just come out of the shelf in English and for the Anglophones and for the Francophones that really target professionalism. So that when people come out of school, they are very functional. But so in our country now, you can still see the state universities, which are mostly subject-based and people telling stories. Then you have the private institutes, which are more professional. But what you want to do is to get more of those state universities to be training people in professional areas, not that storytelling, because as long as we continue with storytelling, we still have a problem.
So will that solve the problem of corruption?
Yes, it will contribute, but if you don't correct that, the woman who goes through this system and then they are competing to sit in an office somewhere, a woman who went through their school getting her marks and her degree sexually transmitted to her will still get her position sexually transmitted in the ministries. She will get there and wouldn't know what to do. And then if you go to a ministry, to an office, and someone is very rude to you, or just particularly nasty, just know that they got the job, not because they love the job. They're just looking, number one, they're just looking for something to eat, not that they have job satisfaction. Number two, service is not part of them. And number three, they were not well trained. So you can tell people who just leaped into a position that they were not meant for. They just grabbed it because they gave 10 million here or down, did something that was funny. They are not very good. And we need to correct that system so that merit is respected. When you get a system where merit is respected, get children to move out of this civil service mentality and begin to focus on the private sector where the jobs are, then a lot will change. But if you still have all these children going to grammar school, reciting French literature, I mean, for instance, you have a whole department, people studying French literature, and so to hell with that. What are you doing with French literature? And I was, in fact, something happened 2-3 years ago on the national news. There was an announcement during the news of someone who was going to present a thesis on Demvet. Demvet is this musical thing, you know, the attributes of Demvet. He did a PhD study on the attribute of Demvet, and that was read on national news that such and such a person, and thereafter they said there was this professor, and he passed with mention très bien. I think that's real bullshit, honestly. PhD in vet, who cares? Give me a PhD in rice production, and when you are saying PhD in rice production, be showing all the tons of rice you have constructed, then we are in business. But PhD in vet, this is the kind of thing that is causing problems. And if you look very carefully, if you've been watching our TV channels all this while, many of those professors go up telling stories and so on, politics, left, forward, center, and so on. Professor, these professors are bullshit.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick Nguyen, for accepting to be guest on our program today.
Thank you very much. We need to be able to solve our problems by being truthful and having love, serving in love, respecting life. And when we say being truthful, it's in everything that we do. Our education, our politics, our work, our human relationships. As long as we align with the truth, we shall be liberated.
Okay, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
God bless.